So we just want to welcome you here. This is a annual tea that's been going on since 2006 for Crossroads Ministry and Crossroads Center, I hope. We just want to welcome everybody here. I know a lot of you have been here before. Do we have any first-timers here? Quite a few. So welcome to y'all especially. You'll get to hear about what's going on. And we just want you to enjoy yourselves with the tea. We're going to start to kick the program off in about half an hour. So y'all just enjoy yourselves in the meantime.
Anyway, the first thing I'd like to do, first of all, I'd like to welcome you. This is just wonderful turnout. It's a different place than we've been able to have before, but God put us in this position. We didn't have any place to go because they shut down everything, and we needed a place where we could set up Friday night with the auction and Saturday, and most people can accommodate that. We understand it, and so we're blessed to come here. But I would like to start out by introducing my board. Jean, you don't have to stand up. Jean Norris is our treasurer. And Brenda Longmire is the secretary. Tammy is on the board. Tammy Hannon. Who else? Danae. They brought us to this church because she already went here. And so then I started coming too. And Karen Kirby is the one with all the food that's walking around and helping you all. She's on the board. So they've been working really hard. And what we have is a working board now and a lot to accomplish. And for us, it's been a long time. Most of you have been coming since our first tea in 2006. Wendy had a table in 2006, and she's still here, and Karen also. And the rest of you you came as visitors, and then you did a table. And some just became friends of Crossroads. Janetta, I worked with Kern in the kitchen. And so we all have a variety of experiences together and with all of your hostesses. And it's been a wonderful process, kinda. So, this is what started it all. Bonita and her 3-month-old baby and her 14-year-old sister. They came to me through choices because they had no place to go. And I had two extra bedrooms and a bathroom, and I didn't intend to do it, but my mouth opened and yes came out. So they were with us for quite a while until she got into HUD housing. And now she went back to California, got her master's, as you can see, and she's working with children in counseling. That was her dream. This was the very first site I saw when I went out to Crossroads. I called Wendy and I said, will you see if we can go in and look at this? And we walked out there and it's like, oh my. But with my attitude, I looked at it, the first time I looked at it was before Wendy was there. I looked through the fencing and I thought, okay. And I actually could visualize children and moms playing and walking around and living there. So when I brought Wendy back, we tried to get in, and you couldn't get access to any of the rooms. We did eventually. We found one we could get in. But when I first looked at it, go back. I had thought, okay, yeah, it's overgrowth, but I've taken that down before. So, and Karen's a gardener like I am, so I said, give us a couple weekends, we'll have that down, and we'll have a cleaning crew come in, and we can open in less than 6 months. Well, hasn't worked out that way. So then the next step, that was after the overgrowth was off. We did not realize, though, how much of that roofing was rotten. So the next thing we had to do, we had to take off the roofing. And we had some teams come in from Faith Promise and Y12, and we started repairing. During that process, I was applying for grants. But as much as they love what we are doing and realize the necessity of it, we didn't have enough money behind us for them to warrant giving us their money, because they were living in fear that within a year or two we wouldn't be around anymore. So had I received the first grant, it was like $167,000 to repair all the roofs and put a new roof on the little house, that would have been a whole different can of worms than what we're up against right now. So from there, we went to this. We got half of it done. Then I had 2 surgeries, and everything stopped. Because when you're the one that has the energy behind it, it's hard. And a lot of the people that were helping were older than I, and this was 15 years ago, so they were now my age. And it was difficult, but we always kept it mowed, always kept it looking halfway decent. And then we had to take that roof off because it had rotted so much it was falling in. We actually had to take all the roofs off because we couldn't fix them, and it wasn't a safety factor at that point. So this building and the back building and the little house were basically topless. Our next step was the roofing. Well, actually that is putting the trusses and the basics on before the final roofing on the front building. We did get a grant for that, for partial, and we were able, because of RTs, put the rest of the money onto that, but we still couldn't do the permanent roof. So we had that roof for 2 years, 2 or 3 years, and when we had it done, I had read about something called Weather Watch, and so it was difficult to put on. You strip these layers off and you set it on the roof. But I just had this gut feeling, if we used that, it would still protect the roofing underneath, the new roofing, and that was a must. And it sat there. We never had a leak or anything. And then down below, that's what the little house looked like. She was really topless. And we hadn't even started working on that yet. We were still trying to get the first apartment building undercover. And then we went to the next step, and this was last year. We were blessed with COVID, which really sounds strange. But with that happening, our contractor had spare time, so they were able to do the work. And when I first met him, took him out there, I said, this is what we want to do. This is the kind of money we have right now. He said, when do you want to start? And that was like Monday. And I said, whenever you're free. And he said, how about tomorrow? So on Tuesday, I went out there, and they were already clearing and working on taking off the front porch. So we have a new, for the back, you can barely see it, but we have a new dormer off the back, so we'll have a screened-in porch underneath it, and an office upstairs, and then the new front porch. And they worked and worked and worked on that. And when it came to about the week before Christmas, I said, okay, this is the way it is. My people have saved and given to us for 16 years, and they want to know where their money is going. And I said, I want both of these buildings with their permanent roofs on before the end of the year, especially Christmas. And they said, okay. And we had our roofer came from Georgia. We had paid for the building's roof. I hadn't put anything down on the front roof and for the little house. And so when I called, he said, well, I think so, but you haven't given us anything on that. And I said, well, I've been busy, and everything was flowing together. And he said, let me call and see if they even have enough. He called, he said, the supplier has exactly what we need for the little house. He said, I tell you what, I'll put it on my charge card. You send me the check. I said, the check's in the mail. Went out that day, and they started working on the little house. First they did the building, because they already had that. And then when the men were done with the little house, they put the roof on. And I shut the gate at 5 o'clock on December 23rd. And on the 24th, we had our snow. I very slowly drove out there and took pictures and then threw it on Facebook that night. So the Lord has really followed us through this process. It's been a long one. But our hardest part is getting funding. And what I have found out, that they still consider everything we need as part of the building project. And so they're not keen on giving us grants. I just received, I sent out 2 the last 2 months, and I got 2 rejections back saying, I'm sorry. Now I realize we're just one of many nonprofits, and all of the others already have their programs going, and that's our biggest issue. So everything for tonight will be, we are going to get the little house in that front building finished. Okay. Next one. This is what I have. We have estimates already, and we know the way everything's going as we speak. They're changing. That's what it's costing right now. We did get a $20,000 grant from the people that always give it to us, because they do give to building projects. But they still don't give us a lot, because they still have this gut feeling we're not going to succeed. And as many times as I've talked to their director, she said, I can't convince them otherwise. So they keep giving us little bits and pieces, and so we do a step at a time, and it's getting really difficult. So that's about where we are. And with Karen's help, she ran around to every distributor a year ago. Now see, that's a year ago, so the pricing has already changed. And it was roughly going to cost about $25,000 per apartment, which is 2 rooms, from the interior ceiling to the floor. And that includes all the kitchen stuff and the wallboard, and we're going to put in beadboard and all the insulation and all that. So, and we never know. It could be a little less, it could be more, because a lot of people have been donating things to us, and our contractor goes around, and when he finds contractors that have stuff left over, he says, how's your storage going? And it was like, oh my gosh. So he's already donated us $800 worth of product, and we've got toilet seats for everything for the first apartment building, and piping and all this stuff. So I just want you to be aware of what we're up against, and the necessity for having open hearts for what we're trying to do, because we need what we have, what we're going to offer. And we have moms and children that are waiting for a place to go. And most of ours will be coming through the abuse center, through the Y, because they won't have to be in hiding, so they can stay with us, because even though we'll be fenced, we're in the open. So that is what today is all about, is another step in getting everything in order, in line, so we can continue working and get everything finished and get open. And my goal is for 2022, because there's no reason we can't do it. And we just ask for your help and your love and your prayers. That's all we can do. Okay, thank you. And I would like to introduce Melissa Miller, who is with the Anderson County Justice Center, and she will talk a little bit about the need of having what we offer.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for letting me come for. I appreciate it. I'm the director of the Anderson County Family Justice Center. We were a project that was 2 years underway through a grant that was funded through the DA's office. We opened July 1 of this year. Our mission is to serve victims of domestic violence, elder abuse, sexual assault, and child abuse. So what we've done as an agency is get all of the partners who would be serving those victims in one building. So we have the DA's office represented, we have legal aid, we have the YWCA, we have someone from CREVA who comes as needed, we have kind of anyone who would touch a victim's life in some way coming to our center, which eases the burden of leaving a domestic violence situation by putting everyone there. So before we opened, a victim might, have law enforcement come out to their house. Then they would go to court for the beginning of the plea. They might meet someone from the YWCA who would say, now you need to talk to someone from legal aid. So we had victims going everywhere. So you may not know somebody who is a victim of domestic violence, or you actually might, and they've never told you. It's really scary to admit what's happening and then to take that first step. So if that first step means then a second and a third, well, sometimes that's really exhausting. So I'm really excited that we're open and serving clients. Like I said, it has been not even 2 months, and we've had 24 come through our doors. And we've had, I would say, at least 20 calls where we've connected to resources for people who couldn't come in but needed just one small part of that step. If you were to talk to any of our partner agencies, they would say that the number one problem that they are encountering when they have a victim who is fleeing is finding safe housing or transitional housing. So we partner with the YWCA. We'll have an advocate on site Monday through Friday, starting, I think, in the next 2 weeks. And they have a housing advocate, which I think she mentioned Julia. So Julia has all kinds of connections, but there's only so many resources available, and there are long waiting lists. So when I have someone who comes in who's did everything that they needed to do to get through that door, that scary step, they come to me and I say, great, I want to get you to safety. We need to get you into shelter. Okay, well, is there one in Oak Ridge? No. Is there one in Anderson County? There is not. I am getting people to Campbell County, to Knox County, all outside of Anderson County. So what we hope is that with this project, having a space in Oak Ridge is huge. I mean, getting someone to a safe space, and it's not just one apartment or one room. It is multiple units. I think that is fantastic because every single day I have someone calling asking about what shelter looks like or how they can get connected. But when I say, listen, I know your kiddos are in school in Oak Ridge, but I got to get you to Campbell County. Well, that's kind of a lot. Or my job is in Oak Ridge. What am I supposed to do? And I don't really have good answers for that because if they can't get into housing because there's a wait list, and if they can't get into a shelter because it's too far, we don't really have a lot of options. So I'm excited for all that Cora's done. We got to meet at CCR, I think, 3 years ago. I was working for the Y as an advocate, and I felt like we were immediately kindred spirits because her passion for the people she wants to serve is huge. And I'm just lucky to know her and thankful to be here, and thank you for letting me share a little about what we do, and thank you for supporting what she does.
And our featured speaker is Yvonne Hart. And Yvonne has a heart for women that have had serious issues, and she wants to share that with us today.
I remember the day. It was a beautiful, sunshiny day. Now, where I lived in northwest Germany, the sun was not something you saw very often. It was rainy and gray. So when it was a beautiful, sunshiny day, you would actually see women in their bikinis, hanging out their clothes in their balcony of their apartment complexes because it was so rare. They just wanted to take advantage of it. And so that day, I had the day off, and I actually was laying out in the sun, and I was just absorbing that sunshine and thinking how wonderful it was. And then I heard the sound of his boots on the flagstone patio. And they were determined. That was that staccato sound when somebody's got determination and they're walking with a purpose. That sound stopped just close to my chair. And there was a feeling of defiance. And I looked up. He had a packet in his hand. He had just been to the JAG office. That's the military legal system. He had legal separation and orders for me and the kids back to the U.S. That was the end of my life at that time. My purpose, it was all over. I came back to the U.S. homeless and with 2 kids in tow. Have you ever been to the place that you feel, my clicker's not working, guys, let's see, we can get that, there it is.
No, that was me.
You ever feel that somebody's jerked the rug out from under you and you're flat on your back? You know that feeling? Anybody ever been there? It's like, first, well, you probably knocked your head and you're in pain. And then you're like, all the air's been knocked out. And so there's no oxygen getting to the brain. So you're like totally confused. What happened? And we've all been there. It may not have been divorce for you. Now that was 40 years ago. And so I learned a few things after that. It took a while until I got into coaching 15 years ago. And I began to learn a whole new process of how to be resilient. And don't we all want to be resilient? I love that word. It means that ability to bounce back. Well, I'm going to share with you a model that I've used for me. And what I do is invite you to find out how it can work for you in your life. And it'll be based on your personality, your purpose, what you do in life. But I encourage you to find something that will help you bounce back. Because if it was not death or it was not divorce, you have still been to that place. Maybe it was the loss of a job or a loss of a loved one. As my husband of 20 years died last year, right in the middle of COVID. And I've been singly using this model, which can actually look very selfish. And sometimes we women especially have this tendency to think we got to take care of everybody else and we don't take care of ourselves. But we cannot give anybody what we don't have. And so I encourage you and to me, it's stewardship. It's learning to steward what God gave you and recharge yourself on a regular basis. And what I use, there it is. We've got a little bit of a delay here. And I call it the Fab Four. When you arrive here on earth, you are full of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual energy. Have you ever noticed a baby, how they're kicking and they're so full of life? We all have 4 sources of energy that we can draw on. But what happens? We get depleted. We all know that. Have you ever been just physically just exhausted? You just can't do anymore. Or mentally, I just can't get it together. I can't focus. Or emotionally, this is the connection with our peers or our family. We have to develop those and work at keeping those because it gives us emotional energy when we have that connection with others. And it's spiritually aligned with a purpose bigger than we are. How do we keep that full? Well, now I'll tell you the truth. It's kind of like life balance and standing on your one leg. Doesn't happen, does it? Not all the time. You can only stand on one leg for so long, and then you have to reach out and grab something. So it's something we have to continually renew on a regular basis. So how do we do that? And what I'm going to share with you is a few ways that worked for me, and I have had to relive this over the last 16 months as I get back up on my feet. And I found that what didn't work before, or what did work, is not working now. So in different seasons of life, you may just need new ways of recharging. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is, while you're sitting there, be thinking, what could I do? How could I do that? How could I be physically energized? Maybe it's working out a couple of days a week. Maybe it's a walk. What do you do to be physically energized? Mentally focused. What keeps you mentally focused and helps you sift through all that trash, that we get in our heads? What do you do? Emotionally connected. Who do you connect with on a regular basis? And how do you improve that connection? Spiritually aligned. There's so many ways that we can be spiritually aligned, and it's different for every one of us and our own value system. What will that look like? What I'm going to do is share with you what has worked for me and encourage you to think about how that would work for you. The first thing, this is my favorite, curate. Just cut it out. If it does not give you energy, if it's a drainer, you don't need it in your life. I've had to do that over the last 16 months. There were a lot of things, and Jessica will tell you, that I've had to drop. Or I've said to a team of people, y'all are leaving because I can't handle it. I just don't have the emotional energy right now. So you have to cut out what drains you. And there are those people in our lives that are energy vampires. Do you have any of those that will suck the life right out of you? You need to let them go. And if it's a family member that you have to see ever so often, just use boundaries and have limited time with that person. But let it go. And then choose wisely what you leave in your life. If it doesn't give you energy or joy, why do you need it? Why do you need to do so much? Curate. Go through and sift out some of those things that are sucking the life out of you, ladies. And we've all got those. And then the next thing, there's actually science behind getting out in the woods. Now, I live on the west end of Oak Ridge, and I'm in the woods, and so I can take a walk in my neighborhood. There is something about a brain reset when you get in the woods. It will totally reset your brain. It's just like turning your computer off. You ever had your computer go crazy and you turn it off, turn it back on, everything's fine. It's a reset. So get out in the woods every chance you can, and if you don't live close to the woods, you can't get in the woods, just go for a walk, or that has worked for me. When I go for a walk, I actually am energized in all four of those. Physically, the blood's pumping, it's getting to my brain, I'm thinking, I'm sifting through. Mentally, I'm letting go of some of that stuff that's been in my way. Emotionally, well, what's been going on with this person or this person, and how can I improve that relationship if I want to keep that relationship? And do I? And then spiritually. I look around when I'm on my walks, and I am so grateful that I live in East Tennessee. Now, I'm originally from Winter City, so I'm an East Tennessee girl. And I do love East Tennessee. But this is a beautiful place to live. And just being grateful, just taking the time to be grateful, will spiritually renew you. So I can do all four in a walk. And maybe that works for you. And that may not work all the time. So what else can you do that will help you to stay energized? And when we get tired, as we all do, try to remember, well, what tired is this? Am I physically exhausted? Have I just been spinning my wheels? Or am I mentally exhausted? You ever worked on the computer all day and it's like my brain is fried? Yeah. Emotionally, something going on between you and somebody and you are drained. And it's like, I have no more to give you. I'm sorry. I can't go any further. I'm drained. What can you do to do that? If you're tired, and I saw this just recently, vent your joy. And I'm thinking, that would make you feel good. Even it's physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritual. Take the time to think of something in your life where you had a lot of joy. Maybe it was the birth of your first child. Maybe it was the birth of your first grandchild. But you remember the joy? It's just so precious. Science actually shows us, the neuroscience. Now, I'm a big fan of neuroscience because both my parents had dementia, and I'm doing everything I can to avoid it and to kick it on down the road. But when you have a worry or a problem and you keep ruminating around and around and around on that, you are making a groove in your brain. And every chance you get reminded of that, here you go again. But if you stop it and think of something that gives you joy, you're rerouting your brain. You're actually experiencing neuroplasticity. So think about what you're thinking about and try to focus on the joy. And it will revive you. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is you've got to get quiet occasionally. Now, I know that's hard for some of you extroverts. You love people and you like to be around people all the time. But we have to have some quiet time. And it may look like a devotional. It may be a motivational book. It may be just sitting in your backyard. But it's getting quiet and letting all these things that are going around and around your brain, just letting go. And that will help you to be re-energized. Are y'all game for a little bit of an experiment? I know we're all tired. This is not going to take very long. It's going to be a gift that I'm giving to you. And like with any gift, you can take it home, put it in the closet, and forget it. Or you can personalize it and use it. But I'm going to walk you through a little breathing exercise. Surprisingly, when we're stressed out, we take these little short breaths and just make ourselves more stressed. You got to breathe deeply. So I want everybody to sit all the way to the back of your chair. Put both feet on the floor. Put your hands in your lap comfortably. If you're comfortable, shut your eyes. If you're not comfortable, that's okay. Just kind of relax your eyes. And I want you to pretend you are sitting somewhere that you love to be. Now, that may be in your backyard. That may be on top of a mountain that you've just climbed and there's a beautiful view out in front of you. But you're sitting somewhere that you thoroughly enjoy. And let's pretend that it is a beautiful, cool, crisp day that we have sometimes here in the fall. So that when the sun hits you, it feels good. And I want you to pretend that the sun is hitting you right in the crown of your head. And you just feel that warmth kind of go down your body. And as it does, you're relaxing. You kind of let that frown go from between your eyes. Your mouth just kind of relaxes. I gain tension in my neck and shoulders when I'm stressed. So let those kind of go. Just relax them. Let them go right out your fingertips. And then let it go on down through your legs and relax. And out your toes. Now, I want you to breathe. And when I'm talking breathing, this is going to be a little different, so listen up. I want you to breathe in 6, hold it for 3, and then let it out for 6. And when we do this, I want you to fill up your chest with that first one and pull your tummy in. You're actually pulling your chest away from your tummy. As we get older, we kind of cave in there, in case you hadn't noticed. And you're going to actually pull the chest away from the tummy. Hold it, and then let it out. Just totally relax. Let's do it again. Bring it in for 6 counts. Hold it, pull that chest away from the tummy, and then let it go. 6. One more time. 6 counts in. Hold it, and then let it go. Don't you feel so much better? So much more relaxed? Let that stress go and personalize that any way you want to. If you want to put on some music that you have a good association with, maybe just do that for the length of that song. Whatever works for you. But breathe deeply occasionally. We have trouble when we're stressed, and who of us isn't stressed? You know, we carry that thing around with us all the time that keeps us stressed and tells us about all the distractions we need to be doing, right? Everybody have one, right? Those things that we carry with us. The Lord gave me this scripture the year before Jim died. I actually thought it was maybe an encouragement for me as I'm getting older, but I've really gotten a lot from it. And I'm going to read it to you. It says, "The righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like a cedar of Lebanon. Planted in the house of the Lord, they will flourish in the courts of our God. They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green." So what I'm encouraging you to do is whatever has knocked you flat, any situation that has you feeling like the rug's been pulled out from under me, you're wanting to move from that to flourish. And to me, flourish is a beautiful word. It's kind of productive. It's like growth. It's green. Even in our old age, we can still be doing something. And ladies and men, do we not need to be non-anxious influencers in this world? Have you noticed how anxious people are? There's so much fear. We don't have a clue what's going to happen next. When it gets the worst it can get, something else happens. So there's anxiety all around us. But with your ways of coping, those 4 things that you do to get yourself energized again, you can be a non-anxious influencer in this world. And you can help Cora with her ministry. You can help wherever you're going to church, whatever you're doing in life. But you can't give peace you don't have. The world needs peace right now. It needs somebody to encourage them and help people along. So I just want to encourage you that even if you're flat on your back, and I've been there a couple of times, and with the Lord's help and your own good mind and putting some type of ritual in place where you recharge on a regular basis, you get that quiet time. You get to breathing. It may sound selfish, ladies, but if you don't do it, you're not going to be able to give and do all that you want to do. And I know every one of you want to do that. You want to be involved. You want to have an influence in the world. And so I'm asking you to think, how can I do this? What will that look like? What can I do differently? And I know everybody's brain's going, what can I do? To be physically energized, mentally focused, emotionally connected, and spiritually aligned. Not all the time, but at least you know how to recharge on a regular basis. Because I think if you do, you're going to approach every day just a little bit differently. I think you're going to see that every day is like new, different. A few years ago, I taught a class on happiness, a workshop on happiness, and I had that song by Pharrell Williams, you know, Happy, on my phone. I had not played that in years. And the other day, I plugged in my phone to my car, and that came on. And I'm like, you know, you can't listen to that song without being happy. And I thought, I've got my happy back. I'm so excited. I've got my happy back. So you can get your happy back, no matter what you've been through. And you can be a non-anxious influencer in the world. And you can help Cora and any other ministry that you decide you want to get into. Thank you, Miss Cora, for letting me share.
Thank you, Yvonne. So, it's been an enjoyable time, but what we're really all here for is for some of us first-timers here, learn more about the ministry and where it's headed for fundraising purposes as well. You heard Melissa talk about the need, Cora talk about the need. The need really is great here in Anderson County. And Cora's had the dream for a long time. And I've been involved since 2007 myself. I first became aware of Crossroads through Faith Promise Church. I was attending there, and the small group I was with was one of several groups that did a volunteer day of service over there, and swinging sledgehammer, knocking out block walls. People were doing all kind of work on the buildings, and we've been engaged ever since then. My wife actually, we got married later that year, but she's been faithful with me to be a part of it, and I know a lot of y'all have as well. So just really take a minute. Your hostess at your table will have these envelopes that will be passed out. They have a card, and so what this is for is to mark down what you would like to do to help Crossroads Ministry out for the coming year. So you have an opportunity to donate today as a one-time gift. You can also contribute monthly if you're not already doing so. But just take a minute to pray about what does God want you to do, and how can you help. On the back side, there's some additional ways, not financial, but other ways that you can get engaged with helping the ministry out. So please just take a minute, pray about it, and see where God leads you, and follow your heart. And one thing I forgot to mention, there is somebody that has offered to match $10,000 on today's donations.
Praise God. He is all over this, and I think you all realize it.